So my name is Dana MacFaun. I am the Director of Admissions, overseeing the recruitment and admissions processes for our residential programs. So our in-person MBA programs, as well as our MS programs that we offer at Questrom.
My name is Liz Wagoner, and I am Director of Admissions for our online MBA here at the Questrom School of Business.
On the residential side of things, I would say for our MBA programs, we receive, I'd say give or take, about 1,500 applications each year for the various residential MBA programs that we offer. It really does vary from year to year, depending on application volume. Success rate, same thing. It does vary depending on the applicant pool, but also depending on the year as well. For example, our professional evening MBA, which is our part-time MBA program, is an in-person program specifically geared towards working professionals living in the Boston area. So because of that, we definitely have a smaller applicant pool. They have to be living in Boston, which means the selectivity rate can be a bit higher. On the flip side, our full-time MBA program receives applications from all over the world. So it's a much larger applicant pool. And because of that, we tend to have a lower selectivity rate. So for example, this year that we're currently about ready to wrap up, we were about 33% selective for this year.
For the online MBA here at Questrom, we typically are getting somewhere around 1,000 applications. We're newer. So the first cohort launched in August 2020. So we've been sort of steadily increasing. This past year for fall 21 entry, we had just over 1,000 applications, and we're typically admitting about half of those applications. So much bigger pool, but much bigger class. The online MBA is about 500. So it's much bigger than our residential program. So very different segment. And, we'll talk about this a little bit, but what we're looking for too is a little bit different for the online MBA because it's a different population and it's a very different experience than our residential programs. And I think you'll hear Dana and I talk a little bit about the segments of on-campus versus online because depending on which program we're talking about, our answers might be a little bit different. For the online MBA specifically, we're really looking for those that have significant work experience. And that's not to say we aren't in our other programs, but for the online MBA, we do a lot of integrated learning where you are the case. So rather than focusing on sort of HBS cases, you are the case. And so we are looking for individuals who have, 10, 12, 15 years of work experience in that particular program. And so we're really emphasizing that, academics are important. We want to make sure you'll be academically successful and you can learn what we teach. But at the end of the day, if you didn't do as well in undergrad 20 years ago, that's not going to be as important as how you might add value now in today's world. And that's not to say on the full-time side, we don't care about academics or do care or whatever. Obviously we do, but we are definitely focusing on that professional experience. And we're really looking for those that want to move up in their careers. So not big career changers for the online MBA, but looking for those students that kind of just never got the MBA the first time around and are well into their career, well established, but know they need those core business skills to really continue to move up and be successful. And so that's where the online MBA comes in.
At the end of the day, we're trying to assess similar things across all of our MBA programs. So regardless of which MBA program you're applying to, we're all looking for evidence of academic ability to contribute, leadership, teamwork, those types of things. But each applicant is definitely evaluated in the context of the pool in which they've applied. And each pool is different. So there's different things we're looking at. So like Liz said, in the online MBA, looking at the work experience, for example, is such a big factor. Same with our in-person residential program. So within the full-time MBA and our professional evening part-time MBA, we're also looking at work experience, but they may be more career switchers. They may be a little bit earlier in their career than they might be in the online MBA, for example. They might be closer to their undergrad experience where academics might be even more reflective of how they are as a student. So, at the end of the day, we're trying to evaluate fit within each of the program too. We want to make sure that the candidates have applied to the program that's right for them, that, you know, they're going to be in a program where they're happy and that we can provide a resource for them that ultimately helps them reach their goals. And like Liz said, each program is a little bit different. They all get you an MBA from Questrom, but they have different formats and different things that they're geared towards. So, yeah, I agree with everything Liz is saying.
I'll meet someone at an MBA fair that I think, wow, you're an amazing candidate. I think you're actually a better fit for one of our residential programs. And my job is to sort of point them in that direction. And likewise, Dana might say to me, hey, Liz, I have this great applicant. They applied to full-time, but they've got 18 years of experience. And I actually think they're a really excellent fit for online. And so we do a lot of counseling and really thinking, strategically about fit and which program is the right fit for an individual, and then sort of helping guide them in that particular direction. I think that online students and executive students for a lot of online programs tend to be more experienced. And more often than not, the older you get, the more you know what you want. They know exactly what they want, what kind of program they want, what they're looking for. And so I think sometimes your more traditional MBA candidates are kind of throwing a lot of different things out there and seeing what sticks. And they're sort of casting a really wide net. And I think on the online side and in the executive side, sort of mid-career professionals are more, I know what I want. And so I've done my research and I know, we get a lot of, Questrom is the only school I'm applying to. Whereas I think even on, the full-time applications, we'll say, what schools are you applying to? And it's like 7, 10, 5, there's people, they're applying to a lot of different schools. And I think some of that comes down to just what you're looking for. And, it'll be interesting to see there's more and more online MBA programs out there. And so it'll be interesting to see if sort of the net gets cast wider as there are more and more programs, or if it remains sort of, to your point, Rick, of one or two schools that you're applying to on the online side. But I don't know if Dana, you have other insight into that?
No, I think that sounds right. I think, the concept of an online MBA is still relatively new in the market, right? As you mentioned, Liz, there are more full-time MBA programs out there probably. There are more, candidates are more familiar with the concept. It's something that, has been around for a while. And I think with the online MBA, there are fewer. And like you said, people are in a different place in their career if they're looking at an online program. They have very specific things they probably want out of an online MBA, and which actually, narrows the funnel even more, right? There are fewer schools that are going to fit when you start to get that specific. So I think you're right. And it will be interesting as more online MBAs pop up to see if that changes. I think candidates could be a good fit at many places, right? I think there are a lot of options out there and they're all great. There are so many great schools. And at the end of the day, we all have to teach the same core foundational information, right? At any MBA program, you're going to learn the finance and the marketing and the operations, and you're going to get that. What I think might make programs a better fit for people, I think comes down more to some of the other aspects, right? So things like the mission of the school, the culture at the school, the types of coursework, maybe electives or specializations, or where the alumni go. That's where schools start to take different turns and different paths. And so it's not that a school would be bad for someone, but we want students who come in to be happy and to reach their goals. And everyone needs something different out of a program and is looking for something different. So it's their job as candidates to do their research and find a school that they say, if this is where I go, I'll feel like I'm getting everything I personally need to get from my point A to my point B. And so, at Questrom, I can't talk about, what other schools have or don't have, but I can certainly talk about what I think makes us unique. And, we have a large focus on teamwork and collaboration. That's something we emphasize a great deal. If you don't like being on teams, you're not going to like being at Questrom. It's something that's just baked right into the curriculum. It fosters a strong sense of collaboration, and we have an incredibly collaborative community, something that I think people are always surprised by and really like. We have, our mission is creating value for the world. And those 5 little words seem so simple, but what it comes down to is really wanting to educate future business leaders who want to have an impact on society and community in addition to their organization. we attract students who not only want to do well, but they want to do good. It's an environment where you find a lot of people who want to have a big impact. And they know they need the business skills to do that. And that's something that you see. And that might make sense for you. That might resonate for you, which would make us probably a pretty good fit. It might not. That might not be your goal. That just might not be where you're at and what you're trying to get out of a degree. And in which case, maybe we're not. It doesn't mean we're not a fit, but maybe there's a better fit, right? So, we're a large school with a large, school resources, but, our residential programs, for example, are small. So you get a small, tight-knit feel. For someone looking for a residential experience, they might like that. They might want a small school feel, but to still have the resources of a big school. But others might not. Others might say, no, I want a big program. That's important to me. So these are the things I think that, people need to think of when they're talking about fit and what makes a school the right fit versus not a right fit. The specializations we offer, like I said, we have a strong focus in 3 main sectors, right? Those are, healthcare and life sciences, social enterprise and sustainability, and digital technology. If those are areas where you either want to work or you see a connection to what you want to do or you understand their importance, we might be a good fit. If those don't speak to you, we might not. So, those are the types of things I think that could make someone a good fit at Questrom, certainly in our residential programs. But, everyone has different things they're looking for. Format could make a good fit, online versus in person. So, Liz, let me turn it over to you. What things, would you want to add to that?
That was perfect, Dana. And the thing that comes to mind is when I think about fit, I think about it in 2 ways. Is the candidate a good fit for Questrom? And is Questrom a good fit for the candidate? So we might have someone on paper who is perfect for Questrom, but in their essay, they talk all about, say they're applying to the Online MBA, and they talk all about how they're super interested in electives and specializations and a dual degree. We don't offer any of those with the Online MBA. So we are suddenly, the Online MBA, not a great fit for them. So even though they might be admissible and a fantastic candidate, they may not be happy if they think they're getting into a program that has X, Y, and Z that we don't actually offer. And so I think it's important to think about fit in a couple of different ways. For us, Dana touched on all the critical things. I think culture is really important. I think experience is really important. One recommendation I always make to a student is get beyond us. Dana and I are paid to say good things. Talk to current students, talk to alums, ask them about the culture, ask them about the experience. Because on paper, even in the Boston area, we've got a lot of great schools and universities. We are the academic hub of the U.S. But when you actually dig into each of the programs, they're very different. And so I think it's really important to do your research, get beyond the website, talk to people that are in the programs to really understand the niches and differences of all of these programs, because on paper, you're going to get an MBA and you're going to get a great education no matter where you end up. But how you do that, whether it's through an online MBA with a super integrated format like ours, where it's all modules instead of individual classes, or whether it's through, one of our specialty programs on the residential side, because you're interested in health and life sciences and we've got the health sector MBA. So there's a lot of different ways you can think about it. And I think it's really important that candidates think about your own priorities. What way do you learn best? Is that in a big group? Is it a small group? Is it in a program with a lot of individualized attention? Is it a super competitive environment? Do you prefer more collaborative? Do you want to be in a big city? Do you thrive, if you're one of many? I think you can start to think about yourself and your priorities, and that will help you figure out what schools are a good fit on your own end. And it's important to have some of those moments of thinking through, what you think about yourself and where you're going to learn best and what programs. And there's probably programs out there that people have never even heard of or thought about that are the best fit for them. And I love, meeting people on the road that are like, oh, I was just walking by your table and, you look friendly, and they stop and they start hearing about the Questrom offerings in Boston University and suddenly put in an application, and we realize we're both a really great fit, and they had never even thought about it. So I think that's really important to have applicants do their research and really think through, this is a big decision. It's a big decision for your life. It's an investment in yourself. And so it's important to take time to do that research about fit on sort of both sides of the spectrum.
for the residential programs, I wish I could answer that in that it would be so much easier if there was a bit of a formula, but there's just not. Each part of the application, each thing we ask for tells us something different. So I liken it to a puzzle. Each piece of the application is like a puzzle piece, and we need each piece to build the puzzle. And without that piece, we're missing something. And so, do we want to make sure someone is academically eligible or could be academically successful in the program? Of course. And that's why we'll look at things like university level transcripts and test scores if someone submits them and, those types of things. And those are important for that reason. But we also want to make sure someone can contribute in the program. So we look at things like their resume and their work experience and how successful they've been in contributing in other aspects of their life. So resume is important, interview is important. We would love third-party viewpoint on you. Recommendations are important. They give another aspect, another opportunity to hear from someone else about you and your abilities. So each piece of the application is sort of weighted the same, right? It's a holistic process because they each tell us something different. I could say some pieces of the application are more important in determining certain things, but we have many things we need to determine. So that's how I usually answer that question. Like I said, I wish, it'd be so much easier. Although if there was a formula, then you wouldn't need us. And so maybe I don't wish for that. But, but it really is a bit of an art, right? We're looking at every piece of the application and really trying to get to know the candidate and them and their background and their goals and trying to figure out whether they'd be happy in our program and do well. So it's a lot of aspects. Liz, what about for you for online?
I was just going to say, you hit the nail on the head, keyword holistic. And
Yeah.
Candidates hate that answer. I cannot tell you how many people are like, but Liz, but really, what's the number one thing? And I'm always hesitant to answer because it varies from person to person. So I might have a candidate that has, a GPA that might make people shudder, but they've got 18 years of work experience and they're doing extraordinary things. We're not going to weigh that GPA as heavily as we're going to weigh the work for them. But we might have someone else who has less work experience and they have a 4.0, and that 4.0 is suddenly a little bit more important. So it's all about balance, and you can't really compare candidates. It's really, we're crafting a class, we're building a puzzle. And I love the puzzle metaphor as well, because it's not only a puzzle of like you and your application pieces, but then how everybody fits into this greater class. And diversity is so important. And I mean diversity in the academic background, geographic location, nation of origin, industry and functional area that you're coming from. And so we're really thinking we don't want a room for people that are the same. And so as we're evaluating candidates, what is important depends on that person in that particular application. So, really, there isn't a quick, easy, it's the GMAT or it's the work experience or it's the GPA, it's everything. And so, and we don't want to box ourselves and say, well, it's the GMAT, because actually sometimes that, for the online MBA, that's optional. So we have less than, I think, 2% of people that submit a test score. So that's not the most important thing, but it can be really, really helpful if someone doesn't have a quantitative background and they score really well in the quantitative section of the GMAT. That can be really, really helpful. So then we're going to put emphasis on that. But that's not something we standardly would put an emphasis on, if that makes sense. So it really is a holistic process. You'll hear every admissions person say that, but it's the truth. And I think it's really true in particular for graduate school and for business schools in particular, because we are really thinking about teams. We're thinking about how does this person fit into our school, our community? How are they going to be on a team? How are they going to be with talking to a recruiter? And we're looking at all of those different things. And some of that will come out in an interview or in an essay or from a recommender. So it is really all the different aspects that we look at.
We try to be very transparent about the process and the timeline. So for our residential MBA programs in particular, we not only publish our deadlines, but we publish the response date and then if you're admitted, when you would need to commit date. So we try to be pretty clear. The hope is that it helps candidates pick the right deadline for them so that they're not in a situation where they haven't yet heard from us but need an answer because they've heard from other schools, or they have been admitted to our program and we need their commitment, but they're not ready to make the commitment. So, our hope is that by being transparent, they can pick the deadlines that make the most sense for them. it's something where we pride ourselves on our communication with candidates. Hopefully what you can get out of this interview with Liz and I too is that we are pretty friendly people on our team, right? We want candidates to feel comfortable asking us questions and reaching out. So, at the end of the day, if a candidate has a question about when they're going to hear or, when would I get an interview? Do you do interviews? How does that process work? We want them to reach out and ask us. We do events throughout the year, several opportunities for people to connect with us. So whether it's, advising sessions or office hours or just events to learn about our programs, we provide a lot of opportunity for them to have connections with us, but we also want them to just reach out. If someone's not sure, ask. Each person's question is different, each situation is different, and we understand that people they're not just applicants, they're people, right? People are going through this process. It's overwhelming, it's stressful. They have many balls in the air that they're trying to manage. And we don't want to make that more difficult. So we try to be transparent. We want people to communicate. We have deadlines for a reason. We put them out there because our plan is to stick with them. There's a reason why we give those dates, but hopefully by being transparent about that, it helps candidates make a better choice.
We do the same for the online MBA. So we've put right out there, this is the timeline. And what I always recommend people doing is staying organized, however that may be, whether that's an Excel spreadsheet or, just a scratch piece of paper with, here are the schools I'm looking at and here's when their deadlines are. And sometimes, for the online MBA, we'll say, here's the deadline, but documents, supplemental materials can come in as late as X date. And what you don't want to do is miss the deadline or be scrambling because you didn't pay attention and, you owe one school a response and you haven't heard from the other school. And then the other thing I would say, and mirroring what Dana has said, is keep in touch with us. I love hearing from waitlisted candidates, checking in, saying, hey, I'm going to submit this extra thing. Is that okay? And I say, absolutely. And keep in touch with us. We want to hear from you. We're your support during this process. We are your advocate. And so it's really great to hear from candidates that, if you happen to be someone on the wait list, that's not the be all end all. We take people off the wait list sometimes. So, and when I do, I love to go through and say, oh, here's this person. I've been in constant communication with them and they've done X, Y, and Z. And so that can always be helpful. So I think just staying in communication, but also as I said before, doing your research and sort of knowing the timelines, knowing what's needed when, and sort of adhering to them, because the schools have put a lot of thought into the timelines and why they are the way they are. And so, for example, on the online MBA, we have to make a decision. You have to let us know for our January entry by December 15th. You've got a really quick turnaround from when you're notified. You've got basically 2 weeks to decide if you're coming. So you want to do your research up front, but that's because the program starts January 2nd. And so with the holidays and stuff, there's no time. Like, we got to get you registered. We got to get you, transcripts in. Like, we're moving quickly. We're sort of warp speed. Now, that's an extreme example with our round 2 deadline for our January entrance for the online program specifically. But my point is, that information is available on our website, and you don't want to be blindsided like, oh, I thought I had 6 weeks to decide. And it's like, well, then you'd be a month into school before you'd made your decision. So I think it's really important to pay attention and sort of be aware of this type of thing, so that you can plan and know what to do when.
There's not a different process or different way we look at candidates depending on, where they're coming from. What we want to do is ensure we're bringing in people that will thrive in our environment, who will add value and perspective to the class. And there's many ways to do that, right? So it could be geographic diversity, right? We want to make sure we have people from all different countries. That's always exciting in the classroom. We also want to make sure people have different backgrounds in other ways. I think Liz mentioned this earlier. So we want to make sure people come from different industries. We don't want everyone coming from the same background. We want people to have different life experiences. I think all of the different experiences people have, we actually say this at Questrom, we're all connected by difference, but what makes you, all the things that make you different is actually what brings us together. And that's something we value. We have a strong focus on inclusivity as well. So recognizing the importance of everyone's unique situations and their backgrounds and their experiences and what they bring. So there's so many ways to look at that it's not a sort of a clear cut. We look at domestic candidates this way and international candidates that way. No, we're looking at all of them for academic ability, what they'll contribute in the class, whether or not we're a good program for them. We're looking at them all the same way. But as we build the class, we're making sure that we haven't done something where too many people all come from the same background, right? We are trying to curate a class that's diverse. But no, we're not looking at them differently when we evaluate them, if that makes sense. Liz, what about you?
I would say the same exact thing. I think that we're really looking at how much value do you bring and how much value will you receive from a Questrom experience. And so, on the online side, we have domestic candidates that live overseas, and we have international candidates that are living in the US, and then we have people that are living in their native countries. So it really is all over the place. And to us, we want the most enriching, diverse experience as possible. But like Dana said, it's not just nation of origin. It can be a lot of different things. And so we're really digging into people's life experience and background. And that's where that essay can be really important. Or if there's an interview component, can be really important, because that's where you can shine. That's where you can speak directly sort of to your reader and bring out some of those life experiences and really showcase how you're going to add and contribute to the Questrom experience. And that's what we're looking for.